Environmental Defense Fund and CNBC-TV18 present Climate Tech Convening India 2025 in association with Climate Collective.
Hello, good morning, and a very warm welcome to Environmental Defense Fund and CNBC-TV18 present Climate Tech Convening India 2025 in association with the Climate Collective. Now, this is a platform where ambition meets action and innovation leads the charge in addressing one of humanity's greatest challenges, climate change. Today, as the world navigates an urgent call for sustainability, India stands forth with hope and leadership, with its bold commitment to achieving net zero emission by 2070. Central to this transformation is a vibrant ecosystem of climate tech startups, each bringing fresh perspectives and innovative solutions to reimagine how we harness energy, how we grow our food, how we manage waste, and capture carbon. Now, to officially kickstart the event, we are joined by a leader whose work has been instrumental in advancing climate tech in India. Please put your hands together to welcome on stage Pratap Raju, founding partner, Climate Collective, to deliver the opening address.
When we started in 2016, I think there was maybe 50 clean tech startups in India, maybe. Very few clean tech startups. Long story short, we've grown quite a bit because the ecosystem has grown. We're now the largest clean tech startup accelerator in India and the Global South. I think we've run, 92 clean tech accelerators, 1,140 clean tech startups have gone through our market accelerator. We do everything from, of course, helping startups develop their business plans when they're going to the market, to raising capital, that's grants, through our grant platform, angel investors through our Seeders Club, Series A, Series B funding as well. In particular, we've been working a lot in the last 4 years in piloting startups. This is the hardest bit to do, despite the number of innovators that's happening. It's getting that acceptance to look at a solution, an external technology, into your corporate or into your utility or whatnot. So we run a program with called Electron Vibe the last 5 years, working with 16 discoms, electric utilities. I think we've gotten 14 pilots with discoms. And we have a larger platform with corporates as well, 103 corporates. Corporates are looking for solutions today. This is amazing. This was not true 8 years ago for sure. The world definitely has changed. We also have a large program called the Women in Climate Entrepreneurship Initiative. This started about 5 years ago. There's tremendous talent in the clean tech space, women-led startups. We reached, I think, 287 climate tech, women-led founders in India. We do events as well. If you have heard of Climate Startup Week, we run it twice a year, 15, 16 cities each time. 4,500 people come. That tells us there is interest across India. Our accelerator, as I mentioned, is initially started with Climate Kick, KIC, if you've heard of that in Europe, is Europe's leading innovation initiative for clean tech. Now it's a homegrown platform where we work with groups like WWF on water tech, FCDO, the UK government on AI for climate, etc. This is our Electron Vibe program. We do work with utilities. As you know, the grid is very important if we're talking about climate change. We need solutions that work with transforming the grid to a climate resilient grid itself. I won't get to that. It becomes complicated. The startup journey, I know it because, as I mentioned, I failed more than one time. It's hard. It requires support from everyone. It's not just the funders, it's not the accelerators, the VCs, it's also the corporates, it's mentors, it's government agency, policymakers, everyone. So we've run, as I mentioned, these 55 platforms to really think about the startup journey, and when groups like EDF come in, EDF is such an amazing and important part of the story here in India, especially in decarbonization. where we need more science-based or lab-based technologies to help industries look at their net zero goals, et cetera. We have been working with everyone across the ecosystem over the last few years, from UNDP and quite a bit of others. We'd like to thank our donors as well. Without donor capital, it's very hard to do this development work. The push in the past was, let's get more entrepreneurs, let's get more innovation happening. That's a great push, it's needed, it's only a start. We are now starting to see the pull. People are asking for solutions, and it's mostly B2B in India, business, industry, et cetera. We're even seeing more sustainable products, since consumers asking for sustainable products. That's going to even deepen more our startup ecosystem in the climate space. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we move on, and we now have a leader who has a wealth of experience and a deep commitment to creating sustainable solutions for our planet. She has dedicated her career to advancing climate resilience, environmental protection, and the innovative policies needed to drive meaningful change. Please join me as I welcome Amanda Leland, Executive Director, Environmental Defense Fund, for the special address.
At Environmental Defense Fund, we focus on finding practical ways to solve the world's biggest environmental challenges. We work with a wide range of partners and allies worldwide to spark innovative solutions to stabilize the climate, strengthen the ability of people and nature to thrive, and to support people's health. We operate in more than 30 countries, and our efforts are largely focused in 4 geographies: here in India, in China, in Europe, and the United States. Our mission here in India is to support an Indian pathway to shared, sustainable prosperity. We bring scientific and economic capacity to complement governments and local partners as they work on the audacious ambition for India to be the first major economy to industrialize without carbonizing. EDF offers our scientific and economic expertise as we serve as an authentic and distinctive partner in India as we help to improve livelihoods and ensure a clean, healthy environment alongside a stable climate. We do this by amplifying local partners and following 4 strategic niches. First, working to improve sustainable livelihoods for the farmers and the fishers who feed this country and fuel its economy. Second, leveraging market forces to incentivize economic and environmental outcomes. Third, by promoting sustainable business practices to increase shareholder values. And fourth, advocating for a climate tech revolution in India. These efforts are part of a larger mission to build a healthier, cleaner, and more sustainable future. India is at the center of this mission. As one of the fastest growing economies in the world, it faces the challenges of achieving economic growth while addressing the climate crisis. India has different emission challenges and opportunities than many developed countries, in particular around freight and mobility, manufacturing, agriculture, and food, and construction. These are the areas where innovative technologies can have the biggest and quickest impact in reducing emissions in this country. And a growing stable of entrepreneurs is rising up to find innovative solutions in these critical areas. With growing momentum from both the public and the private sector to accelerate R&D investment, the country is poised to become a leading hub for climate solutions. India has demonstrated leadership in greening some sectors, such as the more than 1.5 million electric vehicles sold in 2024, mostly scooters and 3-wheelers, as well as greening of the cement sector through the use of fly ash as a primary raw material. Also, high energy efficiency light bulbs and ceiling fans, but there's much more work to do. And that's why this convening is so important. India has over 600 startups. These startups have incredible potential to help India achieve its climate goals, but they often face significant hurdles like limited funding and regulatory challenges. We want to shine a spotlight on sectors that represent 60% of emissions, but today receive less than 10% of climate investments. This is where the power is, in opportunities around agriculture and food systems, manufacturing and construction, freight and logistics. Our goal today is to connect them with the support that they need to scale and to succeed. India's climate tech journey will require significant investment, innovation, and collaboration, and the opportunity is significant to create a future that's economically strong and environmentally sustainable.
Let us dive straight into our next segment, CEOs of Change. We will hear from some of the most impactful leaders who are driving climate action strategies across industries. To kick it off, we have with us a leader who has been at the forefront of sustainable energy initiatives. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Praveer Sinha, MD and CEO Tata Power, for the keynote address.
Let me look at what's happened last 100 years. I think we could have done much better. 5 things that define how we did many wrong things, and the impact of that is today the world has the biggest challenge, and that is the climate change that is happening. The first was about the ozone depletion that happened. This was one big thing that happened. We didn't realize the challenge that we are facing. CFC was one of those things where more usage of it led to not only ozone depletion right across everywhere, but also in the very many experiments that were carried out in Antarctica, they found that there is an ozone hole and the depletion is impacting even Antarctica, leave alone the places where people are staying. The second big thing that happened was greenhouse gases. We continue to do that. Greenhouse gas, coal-based plants, hard-to-abate sectors. We take it as a matter of fact that it's a hard-to-abate sector, but we need to find a solution. The third is smog. I think we talk today, especially in India, we talk of smog, and we are okay. PM 2.5 is 250 or 300. It's not severe. We are in very poor and poor. So I think we have taken it in our stride, but this is not. Fourth big thing happened was lead. We need to understand that today also many of the chemicals that we use in various places, batteries, or even for silicon panels that we have the issue of lead, and how do we handle that? The fifth thing that has impacted very badly in the last century was pesticides. I think everyone again took it because it had a certain benefit, but I think the benefits were much less than the negative impact that pesticides had. The narrative has to change of working together. The narrative has to change that how we can make a difference, because this is a world which requires to be protected, which requires to be saved. And our planet is under threat to that extent. We cannot just be doing an academic research and saying that so many times this sort of event has happened or something like that, or some sort of catastrophe has happened. What we need to do is find out a solution, and a solution which can be scaled up and implemented right across the world. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Jitendra Singh, Honorable Minister of State for Science, Technology and Earth Sciences, Government of India. And I would also like to invite on stage Shruti Mishra from CNBC-TV18 to come for this conversation.
Start off with India's sustainability commitments are, how does India's vision of becoming a Viksit Bharat by 2047 incorporate the principles of sustainable economic growth. The role of Indian industry has become more critical than ever. If you could highlight India's determination to take the lead in achieving sustainable economic growth through responsible industrialization.
If India rises to that pedestal as is being envisaged by all of us, it has to be an economic growth, of course, it has to be sustainable growth, and it has to be also in keeping with the global parameters, the global strategies, the global benchmarks, which by implication would automatically include the considerations of green energy, the consideration of sustainability, the consideration at the same time of economic growth through resources that have hitherto remained either underexplored or unexplored. So I think India is already on the path to achieve that goal, and the advantage that India enjoys compared to several other countries of the world is that we have a huge resource pool, which is also quite varied, and which has not been explored. It started happening only in the last 10 years, particularly after 2014, when Prime Minister Modi took over. And he has a special aptitude for science, technology, innovation, startups, and whatever was put across to him, we could seek his approval along with his support and patronage. For example, in startups, we were just about 354, 400 in 2014. Now we've gone up to almost 1.75, where India stands number 3 in the world startup ecosystem.
So you also earlier mentioned, growth that has to be sustainable and balanced. What strategies can industries adopt to balance rapid industrial growth with the need to reduce carbon emissions?
Our next industrial revolution is going to be driven in essentially by the non-carbonizing sources, because see, when I talk of shift from manufacturing to recycling, I also talk of shifting your 80% of fuel requirement in India is today being met by petrol, which is being imported from the Gulf countries, etc. When you move over to the recycle, whether it's a plastic, whether it's a biofuels, you are at the same time targeting 3 important aspects. A, you are ensuring a growth in your economy. B, you are reducing your dependence on imported petrol or imported fuel, thus also serving the cause of Atmanirbhar Bharat. And C, your fuel is again going to be without carbon. So you automatically do that. So all will go hand in hand. That's what I'm trying to say.
If you could throw some light on how effective have policy initiatives like the National Action Plan on Climate Change and the PLI scheme been in fostering clean industrial practices?
It might be to begin with as a policy which is trying to ensure, trying to regulate, trying to enforce. But ultimately, to gain the optimum results, it has to be spontaneous. And it will happen spontaneous when each one of us realizes the stake in that. When I know that, look here, from here onwards, I cannot move if I don't follow this option or the policy, whichever is laid down, then my growth retards. It's something like you are riding in a bus of 50 people in a single bus. You have all sorts of people. You may like or don't like. But if suddenly the bus breaks down, each one of you gets down to give it a push because you want to reach the destination. So when each one of us, and I think that needs, thanks to the channels like you who are conducting a program like this, that needs a lot of awareness among the common masses. It has to be a mass movement. Government can be an initiator, but it has to be taken up. Like it happened in the case of Swachhata, for example. Swachhata is a green option in another way, in the hygienic way. So Prime Minister made a call from the Red Fort and people lapped it up, became a mass movement. I think a lot of it is to do with the mindset, a mindset at the level of the every citizen, which requires awareness. So policies, of course, are there in frame. For the first time, we are following the similar strategies also. But I think ultimately each one of us would have to realize that the stake is not only the government's, not only that of the industry, it is that of the common citizen. So that's how it will happen.
Thank you so much for sharing your visionary thoughts.
We have with us Dr. Stephen Hamburg, Chief Scientist, Environmental Defense Fund, who will be presenting on Methane Sat, an exciting initiative to track and reduce methane emissions globally. Please put your hands together for Dr. Stephen Hamburg.
So I was a professor for many years, and I studied forests, and I saw the changes that were occurring. And I modeled it, we looked at it, and we said, climate change will have impact, but that will be after I'm long gone. Unfortunately, after just a couple decades of studying those forests, I saw the changes that I thought would only come 50 years hence. I realized personally that I needed to get into the fight. I needed to be involved in making the change that would allow us to slow down those changes that we were seeing in the forests. This is a story about doing just that. Methane causes about 30% of the warming that we currently are experiencing. And it provides the fastest way we can to slow the rate of warming. Nobody was paying attention in a serious way to methane 15 years ago. And part of that, largely why that was we did not understand where methane was coming from. Why do we need to look at methane? We need to think about climate not as one problem. We have two problems that we have to solve. We have to worry about the rate of warming, how fast it gets warmer, as well as the total amount of warming that we experience. Both are important, but if we care about the rate of warming, the biggest lever we have to change what's going on is by reducing methane emissions. We also care about the total amount of warming, and we have to reduce CO2. So we need to do both, but we need to recognize that we have two big levers to pull down on, and when we pull on both of them, we get much more progress much faster. The bottom line is we are warming far too fast, and the damages are too great. And the bottom line is we need to bring all of this data together to be able to integrate it in a way that's open to everyone. And all our data is free for everybody, no charge, open to the world. And this is for the UN Environment Program, has a program called the International Methane Emissions Observatory, where you bring science and transparency and implementation together based on good data. They are bringing all the methane data from around the world together, making it available to everyone so that we can collectively work together to create the change that we need to cause the revolution and address this crisis that we all face. Thank you very much.
Environmental Defense Fund and CNBC-TV18 present Climate Tech Convening India 2025 in association with Climate Collective.